Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you're absolutely addicted to the game of basketball like I am, make sure you click that red subscribe button down below and you light up that post notification bell so you do not miss any future content on this channel. So as you guys know, 2023 NBA free agency is still going down, but the notable moves have been made when it comes to signings, such as just purely veteran players, some very solid role players, high-end role players, some fringe stars, and some players that you're like, do you think there's a decision that they can make that they can go to a team that's not as good, but they're getting up there in age? They may not win a championship, but that team that may not be so good, they have tons of cap space. So that was definitely a situation for some players out there. So it wasn't definitely a hyped up 2023 NBA free agency like a few years back when that free agency with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, Kemba Walker. Jimmy Butler was actually known as a consolation prize back then. Well, I bet there's some executives out there in the league that would rather have a Jimmy Butler than Kyrie Irving at this point. But obviously, the Kyrie Irving and the Kevin Durant thing did not work out in Brooklyn, but that was a huge summer with Kawhi and Paul George to the Clippers as well. So definitely some failed experiments when it came to that off season. But I definitely do think there's been some fascinating moves, some surprising moves, not so surprising, but these were the best moves in my opinion. And when I mean best, like intriguing, fascinating, not like some surprises, not really surprising, and just straight up good moves by these ball clubs. So the one I thought was fascinating, it's just a very fascinating situation, was Jeremy Grant signing that 5-year, $160 million deal with an average salary of $32 million a year with the Trailblazers. And I actually give it a B minus. The reason why I give it a B minus is because it's such a tricky situation. When the Trailblazers went on to re-sign a Jeremy Grant during that time, it was like you're unsure of Damian Lillard's future during that time, and there's kind of more of an excuse with it if Damian Lillard remained with the team and he didn't request a trade to the Miami Heat, because you may say like, oh, that's a bit of money for a Jeremy Grant, but that's also the market, and you still want to put surrounding help around a Damian Lillard. Well, that now it's definitely a different situation. You have Anthony Simons, you have Shaedon Sharpe, you have some exciting young players on that Portland Trailblazers team. So was he worth the money just to bring a couple more wins in, or bring some veteran leadership in, and re-signing a Jeremy Grant could affect a draft pick of, maybe it could have been like we could have had a top 5 draft pick and now we may have like 8th or 9th pick, so maybe brings a little mediocrity to the table. I'm not saying they're going to be mediocre, but was that a smart signing by the Portland Trailblazers? But we don't know what's truly going on behind the scenes. But I do think Jeremy Grant is being disrespected. That's one of the main reasons I gave it a B minus, because I like Jeremy Grant the player. It's just a very interesting situation because Jeremy Grant's a 20-point per game scorer. Yeah, he shot 40% from 3 this past season. He's become more efficient as an offensive player, and I've loved seeing his progression since Syracuse. He used to just be this raw athlete who was a defensive player, since he also played with the Philadelphia 76ers when he was in that role with the Nuggets as this defensive player as well that could defend multiple positions. But I just loved seeing his progress offensively. He still has some winning habits that he definitely has to add to his game. But when it comes to purely of being a good basketball player and being that veteran to help out these young guys but also help winning, I do like that's what he brings to the table. And you just can't really let a player that is good just walk like that. And I believe Chauncey Billups wanted still some competitiveness on the roster. It's one of the main reasons I give it a B minus, but it's such a tricky one because I really do like Jeremy Grant, the player. Next up, it's probably one of the most interesting ones when it comes to the 2023 NBA free agency. So Nick Nurse decided to take the Philadelphia 76ers job, and the Raptors, it looks like they're moving in a different direction. Will Siakam be traded? Will OG Anunoby be traded? I know they hold OG Anunoby in very high regards, that they want to get tons of value back, but with Nick Nurse gone, we knew there was definitely a situation that Fred VanVleet can leave in free agency. Fred VanVleet obviously was a part of the club with Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol, obviously Siakam, Kawhi Leonard, like help hold up that Larry O'Brien trophy back when they beat the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, it sucked. Klay Thompson got hurt and Kevin Durant got hurt literally during that finals run for the Golden State Warriors. But at the end of the day, they were champions. Fred VanVleet was a part of it. And you look at this contract, Fred VanVleet actually went to the Rockets. The Rockets opened up free agency with the most money. And you have Udoka now as the brand new coach. Steven Silas isn't there, trying to bring more structure to the table, more accountability, and bring a locker room presence that could also help you win. Udoka's like, we're not effing around. We're trying to be competitive. If we improve to 35 wins, I'm okay with that. We're not winning like barely any games. We're not holding up another, or we're not going to be in the lottery of getting a top 3 draft pick in that position. Obviously, they went on to sign Dillon Brooks. We're going to get into that. But I actually give this Fred VanVleet deal of 3 years, $128 million, $42 million average salary. I give it a B- because I do understand from the culture standpoint, someone that really hounds defensively is going to bring some accountability to the table when it comes to his teammates. But I do have a concern. It was me really picking between a B- and C+ because of the fit. I feel you have some irrational shot takers on this team, or irrational confidence guys on this team, that Dillon Brooks isn't that type of shot maker, but he takes some very unnecessary shots that really isn't his game and shouldn't really be in his arsenal. You know, Jalen Green needs to rein in his shot selection, but I really believe he has a high upside as a shot maker, like a Bradley Beal with the snatchbacks in his game. He's still a very young player, but Fred VanVleet, 40% three-point shooter for his career, struggled from 3 last season, but when it comes to inside the arc, doesn't have that crazy explosiveness. He does a really good job utilizing screens, but it comes down to the consistent finishing at the basket. So you don't have really good three-point shooting. Jalen Green didn't shoot it well. He can improve, but Dillon Brooks kind of up and down throughout his career as of late. Or Dillon Brooks can be inconsistent. Fred VanVleet struggled last season, so you don't have that consistent floor spacing ability. Jabari Smith Jr., you hope he takes a step forward. So there definitely is some talent on this roster, but hopefully Udoka just brings more structure to the table. And when it comes to just the offense flowing, hopefully there are some quality shots in this offense. So that's what concerns me. The shot diet from this ball club, Fred VanVleet's efficiency out there on the floor, and they're just such a young team. Do you think this was a rush to give out this type of money like this quick, kind of early into a rebuild? So I like Fred VanVleet, the player, but it's just such a fascinating situation. So maybe it does work out, maybe it doesn't. But I was leaning toward a B-, C+ around that department, but I ended up giving it a B-. But obviously they went on to sign Dillon Brooks as well. They have that money. 4 years, $80 million, $20 million per year. I gave this a C+ for Dillon Brooks. I do think the Dillon Brooks hate kind of got blown out of proportion. I understand it though. Push the camera, man. Seems like an a-hole. I'm not going to lie. I remember back when he was playing at Oregon, he shot a 3 when he didn't have to, which is very unnecessary and bad sportsmanship when he was at Oregon. They're playing against Duke, and Coach K even said, like, you're a better person than that. And obviously, like, he's just this villain. He takes on this villain role. He wants to get up in your jersey. He wants to be a pest. He talks shit about LeBron. But Dillon Brooks is still a good player. He's still a good player. But again, I think of it not just the player, the situation. And Dillon Brooks, I think he's probably going to have a different role. I think Udoka is going to rein in certain parts of his game. But let's not act like he didn't make an all-defensive team. He's still one of the best defensive players in this game. Can shoot threes when he is left open. He's not a crazy athlete, but he has strength and physicality to work downhill, and I feel he's going to give this Rockets team tons of confidence that I really believe they need as a young squad. So that's one of the main reasons I kind of liked it, but I give it a C+. I think it's a lot of money, in my opinion, but time will tell. Next up, Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving re-signed with the Dallas Mavericks, 3 years, $126 million, $42 million per year, around the same department as Fred VanVleet's contract. And I feel this was a no-choice move by the Dallas Mavericks. You have Luka Doncic on your team. You're in win-now mode. You're just in full-on win-now mode. You traded away pieces like a Finney Smith. You traded away some nice complementary pieces that helped you go to the Western Conference Finals. And you let Jalen Brunson walk. And that whole Jalen Brunson situation went to the Knicks. Didn't want to pay him that money. You could say it was tampering and all that, but they lost Jalen Brunson at the end of the day, which was a huge loss. And you had no choice but to re-sign a Kyrie Irving, and there's going to be more time to build chemistry, a full season, a full off season, and hopefully they make it work around this time. And best ball handler in the game, one of the best crossovers I've ever seen. I think he's the best ball handler of all time in my opinion. Thrives in clutch situations, one of the best tough shot makers in the game. I give it a B because you literally had no choice. Next up, Kyle Kuzma. The Wizards went on to re-sign 4 years, $102 million. That's $25 million per year, obviously a re-sign. And I feel this is another move. I'm not going to say you had no choice because they're moving in the direction. They moved on from Porzingis. They traded away Kristaps Porzingis, traded away Bradley Beal, someone that said he was committed. But then the no trade clause, we didn't think Beal ever was going to be traded because there's rumors for the past 5 years that Beal's going to be traded. Then he never ended up being dealt. And then the contract is being paid like a number 1 option, being paid like the best player in the game, but he's probably like a very solid number 3 option. We'll see how it works out in Phoenix. But you moved on from those guys. You have a different regime when it comes to the front office. And Kuzma is not crazy young. He's 27 years old, but he just came off of a career year. He's in his prime. And I feel you just can't let solid players and good players just walk for nothing. You still want talent on your team, even if you have like Bilal Coulibaly that you went on a draft who's a raw prospect that you really believe in him as the person. And when it comes to his work ethic, like you have Tyus Jones, you have Jordan Poole. So it's just so fascinating, the Rocket situation and the Wizards situation, because there's young, talented players. But again, the shot diet with Kuzma, with Poole, how's the shot distribution going to be? But when Kuzma's a 20-point per game scorer, seven rebound per game guy, and he's a better defensive player in my opinion than other people think, it's because the surrounding pieces are around him. And I feel there was more maturity in this game when the season went on. I feel you had to pay Kuzma, and I like this move. I think he's a good player, and I give it a B. See, I'm not going to touch base much on Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton. They got their money. Some people were going to say Lopez, 2 years, $48 million, $24 million. Average is a lot of money, but Middleton. But when you have Giannis and you went to the finals with these guys, you have no choice but to pay them. You're in win now mode. There's kind of a window at this point. You just pay them. So you could say it's lazy, but I give it like a B. I give it an A, because you just had to bring those guys back. Even though Lopez is older, one of the best shot blockers in the league last year, or the best shot blocker. Comes down to Middleton staying healthy though, but when he's healthy, he's big time for floor spacing and all that with the Bucks. So the Cavs, they got pieces that definitely did help their bench. The big thing with their bench is the inconsistency of Karis LeVert. Osman didn't really step up a lot when it comes to their floor spacing ability, but they needed floor spacing in the playoffs. They got away with, or the Knicks got away with, I'm a Knicks fan, and I thought the Knicks just mopped the floor physicality-wise. Brunson, they had no answer for him at all. But when it came to the three-point shooting, their spacing was just awful. Their spacing was awful as well, and the Knicks was just a little bit better. But you go out there, you sign Max Strus to a good amount of money. Max Strus definitely was one of the key pieces for the Heat's finals run. A good three-point shooter. I think he's an underrated defender. He's just one of those chip-on-the-shoulder type of players that I like. 4 years, $63 million, $15 million a year. The Cavs needed shooting coming off the bench. You could say it's a little too much money, but they were just desperate for shooting. I give it a B-. Then you signed Georges Niang, 3 year, $26 million, $8.6 million average a year. And coming over from the Philadelphia 76ers, I give this a C+ because I've watched Philly games. He has games that he's hot, and then there's games I'm like, what's up with his mechanics? Sometimes he's way off from threes, only hitting backboard, airballing some shots. So he's a solid shooter of the basketball, but he lacks athleticism, and he's a step slow defensively a lot. So I give this a C+. The Lakers, I'm not going to go, I'm going to talk about the Lakers, but the Lakers get a freaking A+. When you have LeBron James, obviously there's a window to win a championship. He's getting older, may retire in the next couple of years, or maybe next year will be his last year. Not this upcoming season, but maybe the season after that or season after that. Depends how many years LeBron's son Bronny plays in college, because he wants to play with him, obviously. Gosh, that's going to be fascinating. But you didn't really lose much. You lost Dennis Schroeder to the Raptors, but you got tons of depth. You brought back Austin Reeves on a cheaper contract than Max Strus. I think that's an absolute steal. Austin Reeves has that dog. He has the herky-jerkiness in his game. He can shoot the three-point. He can shoot it from three. He can get to that mid-range. Just such a great shot creator. He's so crafty, and he's progressed defensively when it came to the playoffs. He just wants to continue to get better, and I really believe in him as a player, and he just stepped up in the playoffs. So when you just have that type of dog, you have to bring him back. But 4 years, $56 million, $14 million, I think that's a freaking steal for what I thought his market was going to be. Or maybe just took a discount because he's just that committed to the Lakers. Rui Hachimura, maybe this is a bit too much money because you want to see more of a sample size, but they traded for him for nothing. Remember Kendrick Nunn, but Hachimura was really solid for them. 3 years, $51 million, $17 million a year. Had to bring him back. Provides depth. Gabe Vincent, part of the Heat, was definitely a big factor when it came to their run. 3 years, $33 million, $11 million a year. You're adding a good three-point shooter that does stuff off the dribble, can do stuff coming off screens. Obviously, their offense is going to look a lot different than Darvin Ham run offense compared to an Eric Spoelstra, but you have LeBron, so LeBron's going to make sure you're in the right spot at the right time. But sometimes there is contracts like this that they fall off after a very good year, but I hope not. Taurean Prince, 1 year deal, freaking steal. Taurean Prince is a strong body. He's going to provide physicality defensively, and he's a knockdown three-point shooter. I just feel he's that type of player that any finals team would want. Not very high on Jackson Hayes. Cam Reddish is going to be an experiment. D'Angelo Russell, 2 years, $37 million, $18 million a year. Didn't really he was horrible in the playoffs. I would have honestly brought back Schroeder if I was the Lakers compared to a Russell. But you get depth. LeBron, like I said, this window. I like it for the Lakers. Freaking A+ across the board. Moving on, this is like a trade/signing. Grant Williams went on to be traded to the Mavericks in this 3-team deal, and the Mavericks didn't give up a lot, and I like that you're getting Grant Williams, someone who's a dog, someone that thinks he's one of the best players on the floor. He's definitely one of the best defensive players on the floor. He's an adequate athlete, not a fantastic athlete, and he does have the ability to knock down the three ball, so I do like that the Mavericks provided some depth here. It would have been awesome if they ended up getting Matisse Thybulle, but obviously that went on to be matched by the Portland Trailblazers in free agency. But 4 years, $54 million, $13 million a year. Maybe I think of these contracts differently, not as that much when you have Luka and you're just win now situations that it's like you don't really care about long term. Like you're trying to win a championship now with Luka. But I honestly like this move by the Dallas Mavericks to trade and then going on to sign him this contract. Good defensive player. He's just an absolute dog. I give this a B. And this is probably one of the most fascinating ones. He was part of the reigning NBA champions of 2023. 2022-2023 NBA champions, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., etc., Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Bruce Brown goes on to shock everyone. Remember, Mike Malone was saying, like, he's coming back during that ceremony when they won the championship. That did not happen. Bruce Brown went on to sign a 2-year, $45 million contract with the Pacers. He's like, this is a once-of-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm getting my money, $22 million a year average, and he has shown that he's a solid player even when he's not with the Nuggets. This isn't a one-year wonder, dude. And I feel he's versatile. He's not very tall. He's not a very tall dude. He's 6'4", 6'5", but he can defend multiple positions. And sometimes you can put him in small ball lineups as a 4 because he's just that excellent as a rebounder. And he's improved throughout his years, even back playing collegiately, that he can space it to the outside. He's an underrated passer. Just the communication skills, he's going to bring that grit and grind to the team. But I liked him with the Brooklyn Nets as well. And he's going to be utilized differently with Rick Carlisle compared to a Mike Malone system and not having Jokic. I feel he's still going to have an impact. It's not as good of an impact that he did in Denver. That's the reason I give it a B- because the system's just going to be completely different. But I like it. I like that for the Pacers. And a couple more. I got Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's an A. I feel this is a win for the Clippers. This is a win for Russell Westbrook. Westbrook's been put in his best situation and a good amount of time now with the Clippers. He played well when he went over to the Clippers. 2 years, $7.8 million. That's $3 million a year average. You get him on a discount, the Clippers. You provide depth. You get a dog, someone that really wants it. And I thought he played well, and I like this move for Westbrook, and I like it for the Clippers. I give it an A. And finally, a move that I thought was very intriguing, I give to the Philadelphia 76ers. Patrick Beverly signed with Philly, 1 year, $3 million contract. I feel Philly fans are going to love him. Like, Philly fans are tough. They want their team to win. They're very, like, they hold their team accountable to hold their standard. And Patrick Beverly, I feel, gets a B because you're getting a hounding defensive player. I feel Bulls fans are going to miss him because when he went over there, the Bulls are competitive, another level of leadership, accountability, and maybe if there's times that Maxi's not taking a good shot or he wants a B to be more aggressive, Patrick Beverly's going to let him know for sure. And Nick Nurse likes those types of accountability guys, no nonsense. Nick Nurse is a no-nonsense coach. So let me know down below your thoughts on my grades. What moves did you think were the most fascinating? I didn't go through all of them. These were just the most interesting to me. And notice I didn't get very much in depth in Brook Lopez and all that because I felt those are just moves that had to be made. But let me know down below your thoughts. Subscribe for more. Peace out, y'all.